Want to make sure you turn your phones off or on vibrate. Let's do a roll call. We'll start with Tom Benson.
Here.
Deborah Miller.
Here.
Sandy Griffith.
Here.
Debbie Savawini.
Here.
Janie Evans. John Rocha.
Here.
And Marianne Settle. So Clark Tenney, our liaison, will be coming a little bit later. Believe it or not, he's at a meeting. Everybody's at a meeting. So, Michael, if you're ready, we'll get into discussion and action items.
Yes.
Or do we get
meetings.
right to the minutes? Should we get the minutes first?
Yes.
I always have a tough time with those guys. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the February 15th, 2023 CAC meeting.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 15th, 2023 Citizens Advisory Committee meeting.
Sandy Griffith made that motion. I need a second.
I'll second it.
That would be Tom Benson. Any corrections? And with that, let's vote on those minutes. All those in favor, raise their hand. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, now, let's go to you, Michael.
Well, first off, I just want to thank everybody for the flexibility. With the weather, this was originally scheduled for Wednesday, and I think we've pretty much got everybody here. So thanks for that, and thanks for surviving the Snowmageddon. So, with that being said, there's 9 presentations today. We'll be covering both 2 programs, Prescott Cares, which will go first, and then our CDBG program. Again, try to limit your presentations to 5 minutes because our committee members have questions. So with that, let us go ahead and kick it off. Prescott Cares program, we're going with Polara Health, Sydney Brown. And I'll pass these. Oh, go up here and a couple inches or 3 or 4 inches.
You know, I have a pretty big voice on my own. Can you hear me without the microphone? Yes. Thank you.
We are broadcasting.
Recording?
and
So you want me to?
Thank you.
Okay, I'm with the program. Mike is handing out some information to share with you all, but I'd like to start by thanking you for the opportunity to tell you a little bit about Polara Health and our substance use disorder residential program and our need for funds to move our facility from its current location to a new one that we're working on as we speak. I am the Foundation and Development Director for Polara Health, and with me today is Erin Cantor, and Erin is our clinical site super clinical. Boy, I lost that. She is our Chief Clinical Officer. And Erin is here to give you some particulars about our substance use disorder residential program. I wanted to start off with just a quick history lesson. I see some very familiar names in the community. I've lived here for a number of years, and I'm sure a number of you remember that our current facility over on Hillside started out as a nursing home. It was a number of years ago in the late 50s and 60s. Wow, do we have a great facilities crew that has kept that building up and running all that time since Polara Health, also known as West Yavapai Guidance Clinic, took the building over a number of years ago. I'm excited to tell you that we have new plans for our program that lives in that building, but I'm sad to tell you the usefulness of that building is long gone. And that's why we're here today to appeal to you for some additional funds to keep our capital costs under control as we move the program to the new facility over on Sandretto. If you look at the sheet that we shared with you, it lists our substance use disorder program. It also lists some high-level bullet points as to why that building needs to move and what we'd like to do with the funds. I'd like to have Erin come up for just a few minutes and speak to you about the substance use disorder program, and then we'd be happy to entertain questions after that. Erin?
Thank you. I'm very nervous. So our current SETAR program, it's a wonderful program, and we've done everything that we can in the space that we have. It's a 30, 60, 90-day residential program. There's a multidisciplinary team of nurses, therapists, behavioral health technicians, all working together to have daily programming groups throughout the day for those coming into recovery. The current building we have it maxed out on space, and as I'm sure many of you know, throughout COVID, substance use has significantly increased, and the need for more space, more beds, and more creative ways on how we provide programming and groups to our residents is at an all-time high. So moving to Sandretto would be a massive benefit when we get there. I don't,
Maybe you could speak to how we separate people with COVID and do separation of people as they come up to the program.
and that's one of the challenges. So the only way we can right now, we have 3 beds that are tucked in one corner. That's our isolation space. That then also reduces us 5, it's not 3 beds, 3 rooms, 5 beds that we can't access when somebody that comes in with COVID needs to be in that isolation area. And it reduces us from 23 to 18 that we have outside of that isolation space. And we are as creative as we can be on how we get people in and how we room them. And one of the great things about the new space is that we have several bedrooms of different bed capacities, so we can quickly flip the beds as needed, either for male or female, or if somebody is coming in with COVID, they can have a single bed. We don't have single beds at the space we have right now, so it's a challenge.
I think we could stand here together and understand if anyone has any questions or concerns they'd like to share. I think we've given you the outline of the program. What questions might we answer for you all?
John, do you have
I know I was just looking at the questions list. We got one for them. Maybe we want to start with the.
Why don't you do that for us?
Okay, sure. Yeah, so I think one of the questions, not specifically, I think just from the committee internally, we had, what specifically will the $50,000 be allocated for this project? I think, and maybe if I can expand a little bit, because I had a very similar question to this. The HUD guidelines are very specific, kind of the parameters of what Prescott Cares and what the COVID funds could be used for. So I think that's maybe what we didn't get from the application as clear as maybe what the actual expense is for this money for
Yeah.
related to COVID.
Absolutely. I think the number one relationship to COVID has to do with being able to separate our clients as they come in and test for COVID on site. So that would be the number one on the list. The funds, our wish for the funds would be to go to the larger facility. And we have worked with CDBG funds and the city in the past and have a facilities team that is experienced in going by those rules and regulations to make sure that we chalk up all those boxes.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, follow up. So when you say use the funds for that new building,
Yes.
is it going to be specifically for isolation, COVID test, or do you feel like that's maybe a small?
I think that's a small portion of it.
Okay.
I think if we were, could click our heels and have our wish would be to have it overall for the new building. And if you come to us and say, look, we really need you to dial in on this portion of the building, we certainly would be able to do that.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Tom?
Well, go ahead, you first.
Sandy?
Sandy first.
Thank you, Tom.
You always ask my question. Go ahead.
I
anyway.
do, don't I?
Sandy, you were so easy on this side because I could see that hand. You're going to have to start pulling at my sleeve.
Thank you, Chairman. Cindy and Aaron, it's good to have you with us this afternoon. Nice to see you, ladies. Now, for clarification, you're looking at these funds to help move forward a 28 new bed facility?
That's correct. We have 21 beds, 23 at the moment. So our 23-bed facility, Sandy, is over at the Hillside location that I referred to a moment ago.
So when you say larger facility, this is the new potential 28 bed.
That's correct.
And you said in your narrative that you're looking for substance abuse treatment program, and you will also have COVID diagnosis. So we've got the two parameters in the new facility. The other question I had, you state that you will serve 75 of the population for homelessness. I'm not quite sure how that connects.
Oftentimes, homelessness sadly comes with a substance abuse issue. And so our long-term goal is to reach out further to the homeless community and help people with substance recovery. And with Erin being the clinical person, I'm going to hand it off to her for just a moment. We're a little bit out of my area of expertise. So helping homelessness with substance abuse.
Well, we currently have some measures that we can with helping. We work closely with Prescott Sober Living and other. I just moved here, so I'm not sure of all the names of the other community homeless shelters, but we reach out to them. We have our peer team out there trying to connect homeless, unhoused individuals with resources specifically that around the opioid and amphetamine disorders through a SOAR grant, but it's not, we need more ability to be able to bring them in and wrap them around with services.
And I
Does
think
that
a
help?
new facility will make a big difference.
Do you have tracking rates for your success with your sobriety treatments?
You know, Sandy, as you may know, sadly, oftentimes.
You're gonna, there you go.
As you may know, sadly, oftentimes there's a high recidivism rate for people dealing with substance. However, our programs have been proven time in and time out to have higher than normal expectations. Well, I don't have a number to share with you. I'd be happy to get back to you with something that's a finite number if that's what you're looking for.
Thank you. I have one more question, team. Are you okay with that?
Sure. See if it's mine. Go ahead.
So far, I haven't, have I? Oh, my
No,
gosh.
Keep going.
Your request for $50,000, that hardly puts a dent in a construction building.
You are so right.
How are you going to put all the pieces together?
We actually have some other funding that we're going for. We're dealing with some private foundations, some individual donors, and things of that nature.
Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Tom,
Yeah, my question really is, you answered already partially, and it refers to what John's question is. The $50,000, it seems like an open end. Do you have a more specific budget for the $50,000?
We have a more specific budget for the program overall, and I think that it's a budget in flex because of not knowing where each piece of that pie is coming from. So if you'd like to know if we're fortunate enough to get the money, we would certainly keep you updated as to how each one of those dollars was used for our larger plan.
Okay. My second question, what is the current resident count at the Hillside facility?
I think we currently have 19 clients in this at our facility at Hillside.
And that changes from day to day depending on community need and graduation rate of the program.
Do I understand this right? You said that the facility will hold 30 to 35, and you have 19 right now?
No. Right now, it holds 21, and so people are constantly coming and going from the program, so our number has some up and down to it, but there's definitely a need for 28 at the new program. It's just today, we happen to be at 19, when typically we're at 21.
And I was talking about the bed capacities. One of the biggest challenges we have is that we have these massive bedrooms with several beds in them, trying to accommodate both males and females. So we might have a bedroom that has 3 empty female beds and a wait list of men to come in, and we can't do anything until the other female leaves and we can transition it, or until men leave. The new facility has a range of beds per room so that we can quickly flip them back and forth based on the need of the people that we're
I got you.
waiting on.
That makes sense.
Okay, back to Sandy. She had another question.
Thank you, Chair. Miss Cindy, on the project timeline, it says that the Sandretto Drive is already under construction.
Yes, it is. We have been positively moving forward with the project, yes. And of course, because of construction things, as you well know, that don't always take the time that we think it will. But yes, we are rolling along with it.
Okay, thank you.
Firstly, I'd like to welcome Councilman Tinney in, and we're in the midst of closing down with the Polara application and construction.
Sounds good. I apologize for my tardiness. I had another meeting scheduled, and when we rescheduled this, I wanted to be here, but was a few minutes late. I apologize. Thank you for.
We appreciate your attending. I have a question. Are you going to keep the hillside open? Is it going to close down, everything will be at Sandretto?
Sadly, everything is going to move from Hillside. Our long-term goal would be maybe to use that property for something else. We'd love to have some low-income housing and maybe some medical facilities there, but that's a number of years down the line.
But it's still going to be under your umbrella?
Yes, yes.
All right.
We own that property.
Okay. Deborah Miller?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In your paperwork that you submitted, I didn't see any actual numbers that you have served of COVID isolation patients in the last 2 years. Do you have those numbers of which ones and how many came into your facility that you had isolated?
You know, apologies, when we were writing that didn't bubble up to the top that would be an important number for you to know. Aaron, do you have just an idea on that?
I know we have the number. I don't want to make a guess.
That's right.
May we leave it that we'd love to get back to you with that number, and we will do that.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else for Polara? John?
I have a question. As far as the, because you are under construction, how is the funding sources? Are they essentially secured at this point? I think you had a matching of, or I think the total was about $1.4 million, let's call it, right under that. You had a couple foundations and private folks, but is the funding essentially secure at this point to continue on to see the project come to fruition for construction?
It is.
Okay, good.
Yep.
No, I'm good.
We're good. Ladies, we thank you very much. Appreciate your time and information and your added information, so thank you.
Thank you for your time and interest, and we will share with Mike that information that you requested.
Okay? So secondly, on construction,
Construction? That's Prescott Cares.
Prescott Cares.
yes, Prescott Cares. How about,
Right here.
that's what I had, US Vets.
All right. We're still at Prescott Cares. Our next presenter is coming over Microsoft Teams. It's going to be Carol Benedict with US Vets. She'll be doing actually the next two presentations.
Can we get that TV turned on over there?
I don't know. Do you know how to turn on that TV?
It's a large TV.
Oh, it's big TV, actually.
Big TV.
There we go.
Carol, can you hear me?
I can, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm just loading up your presentation onto the big board right now. So just one
Oh, okay.
second.
Thank you. I appreciate the flexibility and opportunity to present via Teams.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. All right. Carol, we are ready to go. Just tell me when you want me to go to the next slide. Can you see the slides on your end where I'm at?
I can.
Okay.
Yep, I sure can. Thanks, Mike.
Right, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everybody. Hello to the community members. Thank you for the opportunity to present our application. Mike, you can just go ahead into the first application. One of the things, or the first slide, one of the things I'd like to just point out is US Vets has successfully administered 4 separate CARES Act grants through the Department of Economic Security and the Arizona Department of Housing, which all ended September 30th of last year. With that funding, we were able to manage, as you might recall, everything shut down very quickly, including campgrounds and, parks, city parks, restrooms, public restrooms, dining, like McDonald's dining rooms, things like that. So access to any potable water for those unhoused members of our community became really hard to access. So we were able to quickly pivot and open a day center, a day shelter, where people could come Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, be able to get a meal, get out of inclement weather, get COVID testing. We were able to get a CLIA waiver, which is a waiver through the Department of Health that gives us permission to be a testing site. So we still operate our CLIA waiver and have a COVID testing at our site, along with we opened a medical clinic, and we have in conjunction with CareLock, we have a medical assistant on site Monday through Friday who can do testing, monitor symptoms, work on helping with quarantine and identifying folks who need to be quarantined, not just for COVID, but for any transmittable disease. They also do things like not just COVID testing, but also TB testing. Congregate care, we have 72 beds, which we have 1 open right now, only 1 bed. We're very full. And so we're looking to be able to continue providing the services of the day center, as well as monitoring, keeping up with the COVID testing and monitoring for that. Our outreach strategy, this is just a quick overview of our outreach, what we do. We collaborate, we get veterans exiting the jails will come to us if they don't have a place to go, hospitals, substance use treatment facilities, all of the above. And then we do street outreach as well. During the height of the pandemic, we worked with CCJ, who also typically the emergency shelters in Prescott are like Salvation Army and CCJ are just nighttime shelters. Folks have to exit during the day and they don't have anywhere to go. Now, for a period of time, CCJ was able to extend their hours to 24 hours. But as of right now, we're the only ones operating a 24-hour facility. We put probably 140 people were housed, not consistently, obviously. Probably 25 was the most at any one time. We were able to create agreements with some hotel partners, Spring Hill Suites and Roadway Inn. Were really good with helping us if we needed to quarantine or isolate folks, or for folks who just needed shelter. And with this money, it was more flexible as well, because we were able to work with non-veterans as well, because most of our funding obviously is specific to veterans, because that's our mission. But during the height of the pandemic, we recognized the need in the community for everybody, not just veterans. And so we were able to, we were asked actually by the Arizona Department of Housing to administer some of these CARES Act funding. And we were able to do that and serve not just veterans, but everybody in the community. We have gone through the audit process last summer. It was quite arduous for our COVID and CARES Act grants. We passed with flying colors, so we've been through that process. We're HMIS members already, so we do input the data as mandated by HUD into the Homeless Management Information System. And we're very familiar with what's eligible and what's not eligible. Mike, if you could go to the next slide, please. This is just some of the outreach of what we did during COVID, which I was just speaking about. Again, we had some really great hotel partners. We're really grateful for them. If we do house somebody in a hotel, we deliver meals. So we deliver a hot dinner every day. And with the hot dinner, we also include breakfast and lunch for the next day. So it's a continental breakfast with a cold lunch, like a sandwich and chips and fruit and stuff for the next day. So we're only delivering meals once a day, but we are making sure people are being fed. If they're staying in the hotels and they don't have access to being able to cook or purchase meals as well. Next slide, please. So this is just some of the things that our day center can offer for people who are unhoused, who are not living with us. Again, it's all of our services. We use this as a point of contact with folks in need to try and develop relationship with them to help them get the services they need to find housing. So it's a great opportunity, but maybe somebody just needs to charge their cell phone. And so absolutely they can come in and sit or use the computer or get a shower, or do laundry, all of those things. I think that's the last one. I do have a full budget for this. I didn't, this was done by Justin Price, who was going to present to you this past Wednesday, but he couldn't do it today, so I'm doing it in his stead. He's our outreach coordinator, and he's the one who manages the day center, the coordination of the hotel partners, and isolation testing. Everybody who comes in gets a COVID test so we can make sure we're not having an outbreak in our congregate care facility. But he's not here today, but he didn't have the budget, but I do have a full budget. If you would like me to share my screen, I can share that if you would like. But that's it. Any questions for me regarding this?
Any questions?
Yes, Carol, we do have a few, and I'm going to someone from the board got a couple here that was sent to you, Michael.
And Madam Chair, mine is the second one, and I'm going to withdraw that because she answered to my satisfaction the second one.
Okay, Debbie, thank you. Anybody else on that second question, that second bullet from page 3? All right, so let's go up to where we are with the U.S. Vets construction project.
Any questions? Any questions more about our Prescott Cares program, or that's going to be the next presentation? Carol, I can bring that up.
Madam Chair, I have a question regarding the CARES program.
Thank you.
That's all right. Yeah, my question relates to, I see that you have total matching funds. Can you please let us know where are you receiving those matching funds from?
Sure. Mike, do I have the capacity to share my screen?
Let me try.
I think I do.
I'm getting some help.
Are you seeing that?
Hold on one moment, Carol. Yeah, it doesn't list it.
Okay.
Hey,
So this
Carol,
is the budget.
it's Chelsea. We can barely see the screen. It's very tiny. I'm not sure how to make it any bigger for our folks. So, yeah, if you could just make it as large as you can, that'd be great.
Okay, sure. So this is, just so you can see, this is the budget. We have included in that budget, it's a little bit too big, I think, now. Get everything in there. We have included in that budget personnel, taxes, travel, meetings, equipment, supplies, contractual, that's, for our health clinic, operating expenses, occupancy, everything listed there. And then the narrative of each one will tell you how it's broken out in terms of salaries, what we're going to use the funding for, like for supplies and testing, TB testing, flus, COVID net tests, masks, hand sanitizer, single-use dining supplies, which helps, prevent infection, manage infection control. The medical assistant, CNA, office leasing, maintenance, food boxes, and whatnot. And we have a federally negotiated indirect cost rate. So the balance of this big budget right here, it costs $2 million to run all of our program. A lot of that comes from the Arizona Department of Housing. We have regular contracts, not just COVID contracts. We have contracts with the grant awards from the VA, and then also from the Arizona Department of Economic Security are our three main sources. The only one that would be opposite of that would be the employment assistance, and that's through the Department of Labor. So, and those are our contracts that we get awarded. I'm going to try to stop sharing my screen here so I can find it. Every day, or every year, excuse me. Thanks, Chelsea.
All right, any other questions for Prescott
I need
Care?
to keep my paperwork straight. We've got U.S. Vets on Prescott Cares, we have U.S. Vets on construction. I insist on combining them, and I'm going to quit doing that. So let's go back to Prescott Cares application, which is this money over here that we're dealing with. And 2 applicants for that. They're certainly within those dollar amounts. Anyone else who might? Sandy, thank you. Sandy Griffith.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Carroll, thank you for being on screen with us. Sorry you're not here in person.
Thank you.
Are you still there?
She is.
I am, yes, thank you.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I'm a bit confused because your narrative has a major description on all of your other services and doesn't really touch on the COVID portion and the Prescott Cares. And I saw your budget, but it doesn't explain what percentage will be directed to Prescott Cares. It's your overall encompassing budget for all of U.S. vets. And one more thing to say, Ms. Carroll, you made a statement that you're full now. How are you going to handle a potential influx? And are we going to be maybe heavily influenced with additional COVID cases?
We could be, and that's why we have our relationship with the hotel partners. So that we can house people with hotel vouchers in hotels if we're full, or if somebody needs isolation and can't be in congregate living. So, and that's what we've been doing for the last 3 years. So we don't separate out a separate budget just for the service center because we have congregate dining hall, we have a congregate housing for the 72 beds for the veterans we house on site. And then we also have 10 special needs beds for frail elderly veterans on site. So it's a complex budget. I think it's like 172 Excel tabs for our entire site budget. It's very complex. We don't separate it out just specifically for the service day center. So the funds would support our project as a whole, and mostly outreach, though. The outreach, the hotel portions. I think the majority of the budget, not the majority, is the staffing to help manage, and then also the hotel voucher piece, which would be the other expenses we're requesting, which is $35,000. And that would be specifically to house people in hotel rooms if we're full or if they need quarantine space.
Okay, so that's...
So you said that you would not be able to implement this project with only partial funding. What is your vision and how would it just stop?
I'm trying to figure that out. I am figuring that out. We got notice from the VA that as of May 12th, we will be they will be reducing their CARES Act funding as well, because that's when the emergency ends, the national emergency ends. And so, I'm going to figure it out. I don't have an answer for you fully. I am submitting applications completely to try and get it managed. But, we will maintain keeping our veterans safe. The thing with this funding, it would allow us to serve non-veterans as well, which I know is a need in the community. Right now, without additional funding that's not specific to veterans, we can't serve anybody else in the community. We can only serve veterans currently, as of 9/30 last year. And that's when our CARES Act funding from everybody else ended, was September 30th of 2022. And so at that point in time, we had to go just to our mission-oriented current funding, which is specific to veterans. So this funding would allow us to open up providing services for non-veterans in terms of people who are unhoused, who maybe need, families. We've been getting calls from families in terms of needing shelter to go because they're unhoused. And we don't have funds to be able to serve them right now. So.
Thank you, Carol.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, I have a question. This
ma'am.
finishes City of Prescott, people who cares money, correct?
That's correct, Madam Chair. There was 2 applications, and that's it for Prescott Cares. And next is the CDBG, 7 applicants for that, 2 construction, and then 5 public service.
All right, but the Prescott Who Cares money was added to our plate as what we normally did for CDBG.
That's correct.
And this now empties that account, or you got a little?
We still have more.
A little bit.
A little bit more.
Okay.
But yes, it wouldn't satisfy the whole amount, but it would do a big chunk.
All right. Any other questions for Prescott Cares, so I can shuffle them over
Right.
and try to get into the next part?
Madam
which-
Chair, I do
Yes,
have
Joe.
2 questions. One question more for Carol, the other one maybe to you, Mike, if you can speak into it. Hi, Carol, this is John.
Hi, Joe.
So, and maybe it's just me blanking out on making the connection here, but as far, what is the strain right now related to COVID and the management and the isolation and what's the strain on the VA, on your current organization as of right now? I guess I'm
What do you mean, the strain? What do you mean?
So essentially, right now, is this part of an ongoing program and service that you're providing? I'm just going through your
Correct.
narrative,
Yeah.
and so I'm just trying to make sense of, is this expanding the program? Is this meeting a gap funds of U.S. Feds not being able to do the best of work of what they're doing related to COVID? Does that make sense? Specifically
yeah.
to COVID?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, U.S. Vets will continue to do the best they can with COVID in terms of monitoring it for our veterans. We have not had a breakout on our site, and we have for clarification, total programs, we have 136 people living on site. We have not had a breakout in 3 years, and we will continue to maintain that regardless of funding. This will expand to allow us to serve people who are not living with us. So if we have a homeless family that comes in need of services, it will allow us to put them in a hotel until the funds run out, or until we can get them the resources needed to find housing. Sometimes it's just a bridge. Some people have housing coming up, but they're not able to get into it for a couple of weeks, and they need something in the interim. And that's frequently the case with families. But so that would be the only expansion piece of this, would be serving non-veterans. Otherwise, it would be a continuation of our health clinic and our current COVID measures on site. And we do follow the CDC guidelines for congregate living regarding our isolation protocols. So, and I just wanted to offer, if you guys are still having to get rid of money, we're happy to increase our ask if you wanted to get rid of the rest of that money. So.
Okay,
Carol?
thank you for answering that. That helps me. That's what I was missing, is the link between what's happening now on the ground and what additional funds are going to go for. The second question, maybe more for you, Mike. So, and it's a concern that I have that we can look into, just because I remember having kind of a little bit of a frustration with HUD guidelines as related to COVID funds. But it seems like vouchers and the things that Carol lays out on the application are, I'm assuming, like they said, street outreach, hotel vouchers, day center operations. Would that fall under in line with what HUD requires, or what their guidelines are to disperse these funds?
So with the specifics, what I'll do is reach out to our HUD rep and ask her.
Okay.
So it's very clear that we can move forward with stuff like that. I believe so, but I don't want to be, completely 100% without talking with them.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, just something I wanted to bring up just for us to do our due diligence on the back end.
Okay.
That's it for me, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, Michael, let's move on to the construction. And I believe we're going to get Carol back for
Still
that
have
one.
Carol.
The
You still
Carol
with us,
Show.
Carol?
Yeah, it's Carol.
right.
Thank you again. This is, again, the Fort Whipple Veterans Housing Project with the renovation of the 6 officers' quarters that we have a 99-year lease from the VA with. We were funded last year. We were funded for half of what our ask was last year. This year, we're asking for the other half to continue, which includes some hard costs of, the appliances and like kitchen sinks and toilets and whatnot. So that's what we're asking for again this year. This project is had some hurdles in terms of not so much in funding. We just actually got a $500,000 confirmed award from Home Depot. We had a 2.4 allocation from the state last year from a state allocation. So funding, and we have a 9% LIHTC low-income housing tax credit application going in this month for this project as well, for the houses specifically. And so we're doing okay funding-wise. Still have a huge gap, but we're getting there. But in terms of getting started on moving forward, we've had some progress. We've gotten the water allocated for the houses, which was had to go through a bunch of steps to get that done. And now we're working on the project. The houses is also part of a project, the new build of 80 acres of 80 units on 3 acres, which adjoins the houses. That is actually located within the county. And so there's some issues that we're trying to solve around water, getting water access to that, working with annexation or replatting, or trying to figure out. It's just really complex in terms of who's going to oversee the project. We know the city is going to oversee the houses. We don't know who's going to oversee the new build aspect of our portion of this project yet. And so that's still being decided and administered by the VA, which adds, a level of complexity that takes a long time, because the local VA is working really hard to get this project moving forward. But there's a lot of congressional hoops that they have to go through, and it takes everything. It adds 12 months to everything we're doing easily. So we are working towards getting this moving, but we're not quite there yet. So.
Carol, this is Marion. I have a couple questions. First one is historic. You have to meet some mandates for the historic building.
Yes, we
outside.
do, and we do have historic preservation. We actually, with the VA and with the state that we've been working with, we secured a historic consultant who came in and did an assessment of all 6 houses, and gave us the items that we would have to maintain in terms of historic integrity. And so there's a report that's going to be going to it has to go through the VA historic preservation first, and then it'll go to the state after that. But we are in process of that.
My next question is numbers. Your VA people continue to grow. Are they coming up because of facilities? Are they coming up because of medical? How do you account for your increase in numbers?
I account, it is the increase of housing costs for our senior fixed income, low income veterans. Okay. So many of our low income, our senior veterans on our low fixed income of maybe $1,100 a month. It's usually about $1,070. Some are even lower at $980. And so it just depends on what level of service connect they are, but their income is very low. And so, and that we're getting more and more and more of those. So they're just not able to find housing that they can afford on their own.
All right. Questions of Carol and the project.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I do have one more thing. The other thing that's been significant is that the HUD has awarded us 84 vouchers for these projects, and so for the houses and the new build. So we're only 19 short, but they will be subsidized units, which is great news. So.
Okay. Questions? Any questions? Sandy Griffith, you have a couple of questions.
Thank you, Ms. Carroll, once again. On your quarterly schedule and timeline, you talk about replatting vacant parcels, breaking ground on new builds, renovation of officers' quarters, and then you make a statement in quarter 3 to begin new build of 80 units. It's our understanding that new builds and new starts are not a part of this request. So
Correct. That is
clarify, please, what your quarterly construction timeline is and for what particular component.
Well, I don't have a construction timeline. Everything I put in there is estimated, and I put in the project as a whole. So there's two parts of the project. There's the new build and the houses renovation. This is specifically for the housing renovation because the other part falls outside of city limits by 25 feet. So we're working to resolve that. But in the meantime, application is specifically for the residential homes, the officers' quarters, but we're going to be doing it concurrently with our new build project. So it's all going to be on the same timeline because it's all going to be one financial package closing. So everything in there's an estimated timeline. I don't have specific dates or anything. We're still in the pre-application process with the city. We're still trying to get the water allocation figured out, and then we still are working with a pedestrian survey with the tribe to make sure that the new build portion can move forward as well. So everything has to move forward together, unfortunately, even though it's two separate projects, so to speak.
Maybe, and I'd like to ask Michael this question for clarification and as part of a package for future reference. Maybe we should have some sort of letter from Carol stipulating that this is for the renovation only, because our package does not clearly state that.
Right.
And that's one of the questions that we had.
Absolutely, and it'll be within the contract the
Okay.
agreement, and everyone will be able to see that contract, and those stipulations will be clearly stated within the contract with US Vets.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Carol, for your explanation.
Sure.
John?
Yeah, hi Carol, it's John again. Question about the low-income housing tax credit. So it seems like some big numbers there from the 4%, 9%. Would you mind explaining what the percentages mean? Low-income tax credits, maybe if you could even just for the committee's sake, just explain how those work a little bit, just because I know they're big budget items here.
Sure. So the 4% we actually submitted in December for the new build portion of the project. So that's why that one's a little bit larger. What it is so we had to apply for state equity bonds. We got those awarded in 2021, December of 2021, I believe. And with those, we can apply towards the low-income housing tax credits. So an investor, if awarded the project, the investor, the 4% is not competitive, so I anticipate we'll get that. The 9% is very competitive. I'm not sure that we will be awarded that or not, but hopefully we will. So then once we get those, then it gives investor more tax incentive to invest in the property. And so the amounts of, I can't. We have, it's a whole, if you've not done a tax credit project before, it's a very complicated formula that you estimate everything from construction fees to developer fees, what the annual operating income is going to be, what the return to the investor is going to be. I'm probably not answering your question well enough.
Oh, that's fine.
But.
That's fine. That helps enough. I'm sure if we want to dig more into it, we can. Another question was, are you folks still working with or partnered with a developer on this project? And that's the new 80 units and the officer quarters at the same entity and or principal or person? Or where are we at with that?
Yeah, we have a co-developer with us, Gorman and Company out of Phoenix. They're low-income housing housing developers specifically. And so they are a co-developer. We have 51% of the project and they have 49%.
Okay. And then my last question, Madam Chair, is, and I'm sure we brought this up last meeting as well for the first initial CDBG fund request. Carol, what is the goal? Because, I mean, how many units or beds are within this officer quarters again?
23.
23. And so are those essentially already on a waiting list, or what are the rents going to look like for these folks in those officer quarters? Can you just expound on that a little bit?
Sure, it'll be 30% of their income up to whatever HUD determines at that time. HUD determines annually what the fair market rent should be, and we are not allowed to go above that. And so if somebody's income is $1,000, it'll be 30% of their income. Their rent would be $300. And there will be there's 5 of the houses will have 4 units. One house will have 3 units because we're using part of that house to also offer supportive service space. So we will have a group room and supportive service offices for counseling and other services in those houses as well. So I think we're running out of time, so I'm going to end if there's no more questions. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present both of our projects.
Thank you, Carol. If the committee has any more questions, just get them to me, and I will send them forward to Carol.
Okay, Mike, we'll move on to NASCAR second construction.
Yes, NASCAR, just a second. All right. We'll be going. There it is. Let me pass these out. Okay.
Hello. I'm Jessie Belly. I'm with NASCAR. Many people have not heard of us, so I tried to give you a little too much information, I'm sure. So we are a behavioral health organization. We're different from the clinics in that we're actually a peer support agency. So our staff are the ones that have been there and done that, and now they're turning around to help others in their recovery. So we work with people with substance use disorder, mental illness, general mental health, developmental disabilities, trauma experiences. And so this is just a little rundown on what we are. We are a nonprofit organization. We've actually been working in Arizona since 1999 as we kind of started as a program within NARBA. And then in 2002, they sent us out on our own, and we became our own organization. So we celebrated 20 years last year. So we serve people who are on access. So if they are on access, we get the referral from the clinics, and we're able to provide them those services. With that, we provide peer support services, life skills education, community integration. We offer housing within our Prescott location, and then also statewide, we offer a warm line service, which is actually open to all adults in Arizona, regardless of insurance status. And then we can go ahead. Right here, these are just a few of the stories of some of our peers who have gone through our program. We have people who have been experiencing tremendous amounts of problems within their mental health to where they went inpatient. After getting out, they connected with us, and we have worked with them to work on stability, become independent in their housing, develop skills to become employed. We have offered them basically a community as well. We have peers who have found that they don't have a community, that support system in place, and our peers have become that to each other. Our staff have become that to them as well. So in 2004, NASCAR actually purchased the old Savoini farmhouse on White Spar Road. And so that's what it is that we're looking to do some renovations and repairs to. Obviously, this is a very old house. And so we have done a lot of repairs to it, done some renovations. We have done a lot of work to this, electrical work, plumbing work. When they added White Spar Road, we discovered that there was a water issue created and the basement was flooding for years. And so we've put a lot into making those repairs as well. But in that time, this has been a very well-loved and well-used building, And so I think we can go to the next one with lots of love and use. It does need renovations and it does need repairs. We obviously work to keep up on the building as much as possible, but again, this is a very old building, and so there are things that need to be updated to it. And so okay. So right here is our kitchen. So there are things that need to be done to it. Obviously, you can see the hood is at the ceiling. That one concerns me most. So we would like to do things such as updating the electrical appliances, the cabinetry, and the plumbing in there. The flooring needs to be replaced and then fresh paint throughout. There's also a laundry chute in there that has been open for years, and we would like to get that sealed off again just for safety. And then we have our back patio area. We have our concrete stairs there that have become quite aged. We have replaced some of them over the years, but now it's time to finish doing that and making repairs to the stucco in the area as well as our awning. And we can go to the next. On the external part of the building, we do have a parking lot that surrounds it, and that does need to be repaired. You can see there are cracks there. The weather is very hard on our pavement and our parking lot there, which we do share with the county attorney building on the other side of us. And so we do need to make repairs to that to keep it up to date and safe for everybody. The stucco needs repairs as well as a fresh coat of paint. It has not been painted in a very long time. Okay, and we can go, and also, I'm sorry, we also do need to continue our water remediation. There are still some issues in there, and actually we're down to what looks like the last part of correcting that, so we won't have any more issues with it. And then on the interior, I do know there was questions about the flooring, and as you can see, we have original hardwood floors in there. And so what we would like to do is refinish them rather than covering them with other materials. We have done that. We actually have 8 locations throughout the state, and in our other locations, we have worked to replace the flooring and cover it. This is, again, an old building, and they're beautiful floors. We do have a contractor that will be able to refinish them for a very reasonable price. And so that's what we would look to do with that. And then again, the whole building does need that fresh coat of paint. We need a few doors replaced and other minor things that need to be done. So we're looking at approximately $45,000 for the kitchen, $20,000 for the back patio, $72,000 for the parking lot and exterior, and then $55,000 for the interior. At this time, we do have $10,000 budgeted for it. If we are unable to get all the funding that we need to do this, we are still going to do it. It's going to take us longer than we anticipate, longer than we would like, so that we can get this building up to date. And then in your packet, I've provided you things like our single audit and all of that kind of stuff, so you can learn a little more about us, too.
Any questions for Ms. Care?
Questions from our board members? I have a question for 28 and 29. Do you remember who had that? You need to be more specific as to what will or will not take place. Do they mean using the word subdivision in 29? So I guess they're looking for a little more specific.
I missed part of that. I'm sorry. Could you say it one more time?
Looking at question 28 and 29, they need to be more specific as to what will or will not be able to take place. What do they mean using the word subdivisions in question 29?
Just prioritizing. So obviously, water remediation would need to come first. We would be looking at making those kitchen repairs and the floors, since we don't want them getting any further damaged. So it would just be prioritizing what would need to come first if we don't get full funding and we need to extend our timeline.
Okay. I think you brought up the question of the wood floors. That's very expensive, but this is what you're trying to keep in this complex.
Yeah, and actually compared to some of the other costs that we've had, replacing floors and adding floors in some of our other buildings, we're going to be able to keep it pretty comparable.
Okay. All right. These are the questions that were sent, and something else come up. Questions? questions? It's your last chance.
Yeah, I have a
John?
question. And I think the subdivision word, I think when we all hear that word, we think residential housing developments and
Yeah.
whatever, so.
I did have somebody helping me, and she was very excited about putting together her first grant.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And on that note, we are very excited to actually have a new applicant as well. We always encourage that for sure. So thank you for that. As far as how many folks use this house essentially? I think I was trying to make sense of it. It says 50 peers per peer group.
That's my question.
Yeah,
So that's our capacity.
that's the capacity.
Yes. We do have 6 peers living within the facility.
Okay.
In addition to up to, I believe, 10 behind it in additional housing. So that's 16 that can use that daily that live there, in addition to the peers that we bring in from Prescott and Prescott Valley. On average, we are about 20 a day.
20 a day, okay. I guess that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around is you have maybe the more traditional recovery home setting, and I don't know, is that similar to you folks as far as this is actually, so you mentioned peers, folks that have kind of, had the same challenges, come back now serve and help others. So are those folks housed here permanently? And then
That-
you bring in folks,
That is our staff.
okay?
Okay, the people that we bring in are people who are still seeking services. And so we are supporting them with the independent housing to help get them prepared to be able to live on their own somewhere else. So it's not really temporary per se, but it's not meant to be a long-term. So we do have some people who have lived there 2 years, but we also have people that maybe live there a few months until they're able to move out into their own independent housing.
Got it. So the 50 peers per group, or is that an annual amount of folks in there? Or how many peers would you say are using the facility or using that home per month, let's say?
Well, we do have a pretty consistent number within the housing portion.
Okay.
So that we can house up to 6
Got it.
within this building. We are currently at 5 at this very moment.
Okay.
Part of that is because as we go into this work and work on the floors, we are going to have to move people into a room temporarily while we work on theirs. So we do have to keep one empty one at this moment.
Got it.
We don't want to displace anybody while we're handling this. But we do have, I would say probably over the course of the year, there's 50 to 75 people, because it does vary every year, that do utilize our services. The daily count is approximately 20.
Okay. I know you mentioned question 30, quarter 1. There was something about a site plan to be finalized for porch repair, stucco repair. Was that a site plan like required by the city essentially to? It said something about finalizing a site plan, which maybe George, I mean, as far as renovations, repairs goes, I mean, would there be a site plan required to submit? Sorry, I put you on the spot.
Normally, we wouldn't have a site plan for just renovation and repairs unless it's extensive. So if you're doing a lot of different things in different areas, we want to know where on the site the work's being done. So that could be that they're looking at multiple spots on the property. We would ask for a site plan in that case.
Okay, like repaving the pretty much parking lot and then porch and back porch and stuff over here. Okay,
Yes.
all right. I think that my only other question was about bids or estimates on the work. Have you only gone out to, we saw the one attached on here. Has that been the only bid or estimate that you've produced?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That is a contractor that we've used actually across the state that we've been using for several years now.
Got it.
He's consistent and provides good quality work and shows up every time. And so
Okay.
we've stayed with him for that reason. We
Sure.
can count on him.
And he takes care of multiple locations throughout the state for you folks? Okay,
Like I said, we have 8 locations right now
Got it.
throughout the state. So he's been to all of them.
perfect. That's it for me, Madam Chair. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Sandy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being with us, Jesse. It's nice to see a new face.
Thank you.
And Mr. Rocha, those were all of my questions.
Well, you're welcome then.
Seriously.
Great minds think alike.
I guess. However, I'm going to create a question. And back to the bids, I was a little taken back with the difference between the low bid and the high bid. And I think that those low versus high, those are terribly, in my mind, extremely unbalanced.
We are working with a very old building, and
Okay.
we run into things, and that's why there's a deviation there.
And then I didn't see any potential cost estimate for the back porch. And so depending upon what that involves, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of permit required for that. So just please put that on your radar.
I will, yes.
And then I see that you don't have any additional funding sources coming in.
Not right now. We are looking at other grants as well, though.
Okay, but for now, this is your application for $90,885.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Again, it's nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
Okay. Questions? Questions? Let's see. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate coming in. And let's see, that takes care of our construction. Next, we're going into
Madam-
public service. And public service will be Yavapai Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Deborah Miller.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to have to recuse myself on this one as an employee of Yavapai Big Brothers and Big Sisters, so I'll be stepping out of the meeting.
Thank you. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I am Erin Mabry. I'm the Executive Director at Yavapai Big Brothers Big Sisters. Unfortunately, Carol, our grant manager, was not able to join us today, so I'm stepping in for her, so take it easy on me. I'm listening to these questions, I go, oh boy, I hope I have all those answers. So first of all, Big Brothers Big Sisters has been around for over 50 years here in Yavapai County and Prescott. And just very briefly, I think that many of you are familiar with our services and our one-to-one mentoring. We have a proven method of that one-to-one mentoring with youth and volunteer adults. And we have great outcomes, enhanced social life, our increased engagement in post-secondary studies. So many of our outcomes revolve around not just self-esteem for the youth and their outcomes as far as graduation rates and that kind of thing, but also we make a huge impact with our volunteers and the Littles families. So I just wanted to briefly talk about that. Go ahead. Prior CDBG funding from you all here at Prescott, City of Prescott, those investments in the last couple of years allowed us to engage first in quality assurance assessment to find our baseline need and relevance here in Prescott. And then last year, we used our CDBG funding to engage in a more strategic assessment and to determine the needs of our Prescott youth and where we kind of fit in that. And so what we found was that in Yavapai County over the last few years, many of you have been hearing about disengaged youth. Strikingly, we are high compared to the rest of the U.S. We're at over 11%. This was actually taken in 21, I believe, that percentage. And that disengaged youth is that 16 to 24 age group. And so what we really decided in the last couple of years is to expand our services past the age of 18. And what that means is not just serving them the way that we have always done with our mentoring, but also to really deepen the services that we already provide. So we figured that we were able to belly up to that workforce development need in this time and really look at how we can serve best. Go ahead. So again, building on the investment that you, as City of Prescott, have already invested in us, being able to look at staff development, our mentor training with a curriculum that we'll be integrating into our already established mentoring services. So this brings us to our workforce development programming. As you can see, expanding up to age 24 will enable us to engage our existing matches and our future matches in development of life skills and pathways for college and career. Part of that plan also includes planning and support for on-the-job technical skill development and also some internship opportunities, and then also enlist our local businesses and educational institutes and trade industries as some of our further partners. Go ahead. So with this funding, we are asking for $15,000. With this funding, in our first quarter, we'll be looking at focusing on staff and volunteer development. We have identified positive action. If any of you are familiar with this curriculum, it encompasses effective communication, increasing self-esteem, encouraging post-secondary opportunities, shrinking barriers to education and employment, and practicing healthy life choices. In quarter two, we would also be looking at recruiting and providing that training to our youth and their volunteers. Remember that our volunteers are the ones that have their boots on the ground and are actually doing the work with our youth. So what we've also recognized is that they need further support in how to best support their littles, especially in today's challenges. So quarter three, we'd be looking at fostering strategic partnerships with our other serving organizations. We've already established some of those, but furthering those. And then also in quarter four, developing those pipeline opportunities with the colleges, trade schools, and businesses. So through that, we also recognize that in order to serve our matches best is that we have consistent staff that are supportive and understand our matches. This is all of the work that we do is relationship based. So we want to make sure that our staff are professionally developed and that they start off as degreed social workers in our programming department, but also that we encourage and support their growth and understanding the challenges of our youth today and our bigs and their families, right? So being able to have that development piece is very important. Go ahead. And then, of course, being able to roll out very strategically our mentor training. We've already engaged, we've had our second successful year of a mentoring symposium. We'll be engaging in a further one in 2024 in January in our mentoring month, but also being able to include these kind of trainings not only to just our youth, but our littles, but also to their bigs and community members eventually. So go ahead. So our long-term outcomes, we're looking at college and career achievement for Prescott youth, enhancing economic stability and civic engagement, which is obviously important as I look around the room here today, and aligning our workforce development goals with the goals of the county and the city of Prescott as well. Any questions?
Excuse me, let me start. You stated this youth program goes up to 24 years old.
Correct.
So you start with your littles, and when do your littles fade out of that to move to the youth, to move on up to college and trade schools?
Well, it would depend on the little in their path. That would be individual, depending on when they graduate. Some of our kids graduate at 17, so there's not a magic date other than our programming currently ends at 18. Mm-hmm. So we're expanding our services now to age 24. Did that answer your question?
It's close.
Okay.
Because I don't know of anybody else. I think of Big Brothers Big Sisters, the Little and the Bigs, and they work through and such. It surprised me that the program goes up to that age. It's very important that you move them in, but that still surprises me at that age because they're working at 18 and 20 years old.
We, yeah, and let me just back up a little bit. So this training would not just be for 18 to 24-year-olds. This training would also encourage some of those life skill development pieces that are so important when they're young. So as age appropriateness, depending on where they're at in their development, that they would be able to participate. Their big also has to understand how to, their volunteer mentor, would also have to understand how to support them as they age, as they grow up. So, our mentorship program, our average match length is over 4 years. It's actually 52 months. So we know that these are lasting relationships, and we want to encourage that they stay together even further past the age of 18, which previously we were closing those matches and kind of telling them, well, good luck. And we also know that in today's society is that after 18, there's not a lot of services out there. So we're hoping to be able to enrich the process of that mentor relationship and be able to sustain that past 18.
Okay. Any other? Well, let Sandy go first so you can help John with his question.
Thank you, Madam
I'm
Chair.
almost ready for it. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but go ahead.
Erin, it's nice to see you today. Thank you for being here. In question 28, it says, how will your organization's project be impacted if CDBG funds are not awarded? You really didn't answer that, but that's not my question. In that same question, you said you're seeking funding to cover work to complete activities for your workforce development program. I'm sure you don't mean complete it, stop it, and halt it after this quarter,
No.
after your 4 quarters.
No, this is
an enhancement.
This is
to
an
it.
enhancement to our programming.
Okay.
Really trying to address the needs of today's society and our kids, our youth today. But this is in our long-term plan, is to be able to keep sustaining this type programming. So if we did not receive this funding, it's really going to just push back our timelines and probably just slow down the process.
But you have no intention to complete, wrap it up, and put it on the shelf. It's
No,
going to be on
this will be part of our structure for
years to come.
For years. And let me also just let you know that we are a national affiliate, and our national branding, our national umbrella, if you will, they are also going to these models across the nation.
It's commendable that you have gone beyond that age reach out to 24, because we've all seen that is a demographic that seriously needs to be embraced. So good for you.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a vision that we saw
a great
several
vision.
years ago and weren't really sure how to kind of roll it out. And as we're learning more and really understanding as we go around and hear from you all and many of our constituents that were other municipalities and other organizations, and everybody's kind of saying the same thing. Let's get some soft skills developed and get our workforce back in line.
Thank you.
John?
Oh, boy.
Thanks, Erin.
Sure.
Yeah, and I I can't stress it enough too that I'm super pleased to see that, workforce is huge right now, right? It's in a lot of conversations, and what better way than to engage our youth and give them that purpose and give them a way into the workforce to contribute to society. So that's super, super great. Can you speak a little more about what these skills are going to be, maybe specifically? Is it certain industries, certain fields, I think in reading through all that, maybe that wasn't as clear, just so that we can kind of get a grab on that.
Can you back up to, let's keep going. I think one more. Yep. So right now we have identified just one curriculum that we are kind of starting off with. I'm sure that there will be more as we learn more. But as we roll this out, currently we have invested in this curriculum.
Positive action.
It's called Positive Action. And we have actually identified and hired, this is a great story, and I'll just make it really brief, but it was one of our high school bigs who has been teaching life skills at a high school here. And she called us up, and it just happened to be perfect. So anyway, she just started with us, and she's just learning what this curriculum looks like. So these are some of the topics, and they are, like I said, that these would be age appropriate, developmentally appropriate for each age group. So basically what this would look like is that our matches would be invited to come either to our site, or we would identify also partners that are also giving some of these trainings out in the community. But we wanted to make sure that the messaging came from us specifically, and that it was very succinct, so that our bigs and our littles and our families weren't getting kind of bounced messages. As you know, you can Google all kinds of things and get different strategies. So we wanted to make sure that our curriculum was pretty in line with what our mentoring already looks like. So I hope that kind of answers your question.
That helps, yeah. That helps. And then the follow-up to that is, you mentioned in kind of your presentation, local businesses. Where is Big Brothers Big Sisters been in that, as far as what local businesses have you engaged? What are they saying? How are they wanting to contribute or participate to this program?
Great question. So I'll give you just one example so far Arrow Canyon Connect, used to be Cobham here in Prescott, reached out to us and said, hey, we really love that you're going to be expanding. We'd like to offer an opportunity for one of your littles. They actually gave us 2 spots for internships for our littles to go and apply there. So we actually are in the process of, it looks like one will be hired soon there. So somebody that's interested in aeronautics and engineering. So that is one company, local company, that is just one of the many opportunities that we have. We've also partnered with different banks, and we have some curriculum actually, so they'll be coming out and doing some finance literacy trainings for our bigs and littles and their families. So we're partnering in different ways. So it might not be an internship specifically, but it might be a day to go and see what a veterinary looks like, or something like that. So
Perfect.
Okay.
I'm good, thank you.
Carol, appreciate it.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you,
all
Erin.
right, thank you.
Thank you. We'll get Deborah Miller back. And they were setting up next is People Who Care. Is that who you got, Mike?
Hi there, how are you?
Give
I'll
us,
wait till he brings up the PowerPoint. I'm a retired high school English teacher, and I've made thousands of PowerPoints in my life, and 9 times out of 10, I won't follow them. So if you see me doing that, you'll know why. So I apologize. But thank you, Michael, for bringing that up once you get it.
People Who Care.
Thank you.
It's pretty fascinating listening to all the stories and the needs, and it's just incredible the kinds of things that the people in the community do for the people that live here. And, children, veterans, disabled, homeless, the whole bit. But I'm here to talk to you about seniors. Don't forget the seniors here. I'm Barry DeKemper. I'm sorry I didn't say my name. I'm the development director for People Who Care. And I'll talk to you a little bit about what we're looking for from the CDBG. We've been around for 30 years. Our mission is to help adults who can't drive because of illness or disability or vision, that sort of thing, We provide escorted transportation and lots of other support services. Our mission, we want to keep them living independently for as long as possible, safely, of course, in their homes if we can. We don't ask for any, we don't charge them anything. We support our services through grants like this one and donations in the community, that sort of thing. It's a volunteer network. We have about 300 volunteers who provide the services for us. Maybe you've heard of them, heard of people who care. But we do, besides essential transportation, we take people, to healthcare appointments, pick up prescriptions, visit family sometimes, grocery shopping obviously is a big one. Non-medical support services like technology assistance, we'll go out to someone's home and help them learn how to use their computer or their smartphone so that they can order, entertainment. It could be, Netflix. It could be online shopping, order services. It's hard to get along nowadays without being able to function, I think, with the software. Personal paperwork assistance. We do home visits and telephone calls just to provide that companionship. We do what I think is one of our most important services is home safety inspections. We'll go out and look through their house and identify some places where there are trip hazards, electrical problems, things like that, and even do some minor safety repairs if we can swing it. We also offer some low vision services and a stroke support group and I'll maybe talk a little more about the low vision here in just a minute. You can go ahead, Michael. Thank you. And so I came here today because we're looking for $16,000 to help us pay general operating expenses for Prescott residents only. They represent about 66%, a little over 66% of the services that we provide. We serve Prescott, Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, and Dewey, Quad Cities. So last year we served a total of 468 people, 274 were Prescott residents, and about, almost 66% of the services we provide go towards Prescott residents. We hope to increase that number. We're pretty confident we'll reach that number, that we'll serve over 300 this current year, 2023. We based our budget for this proposal on our 22 income and expenses because we didn't have our final budget wasn't ready, but it's pretty close. So that's what we're asking for. And so why should you pick people who care? We've been around, I mentioned earlier, been around since 1992. So we're proven, we're not going to run out. We're going to keep our commitment to you guys as well as to our neighbors. We've been one of your recipients since 2016, so we hope that you'll pick us up again. And we think our services are critical. We all know there are a lot of seniors in the Prescott area. It's about twice the national rate. About 95% of our clients, we call them neighbors, are over 60. Over 80% are over 70. So they're almost all elderly folks, and they really need our services. Most live on fixed incomes, low incomes, so they can't afford, special transportation that they need. And let's be honest, Prescott does lack some affordable, appropriate transportation. Our clients mostly are looking for, we need escorted transportation. We don't help them into the car, but we're door through door, we like to call it. We meet them at the door, we escort them to the car, we go grocery shopping with them, we wait for them at the doctor's office, that sort of thing. And we don't want them having to make those decisions about whether to spend money for a ride to a doctor's appointment or to pay an electric bill or to buy groceries, that sort of thing. So I think we help them a lot by not charging any fees for what we provide. Let me see if I'm missing anything. I think that's a gap, that customizable escorted transportation. I think it's a gap in the services that are provided here that we can help fill, and we have been. Last part, people who can't drive struggle to live independently, and I think it's pretty obvious. You have to ask yourself those questions. How do I get to the doctor? How do I go pick up that prescription? How do I go shop for groceries? How do I visit my friends? Think about how much we depend upon technology and internet for services. A lot of the older folks, let's be honest, don't have that. They didn't grow up with a mouse in their hand, myself included. But So we can help them there as well. The senior health population here is so big, I mentioned earlier. And as we get older, of course, we start getting hit with a lot of those senior diseases. And my boss, oops, I made a mistake there, sorry. My boss likes to call us the new old, because I just barely retired, so I'm the new old, she calls. But I can see how the health issues hit us, the things like diabetes and heart disease and falling, trip hazards, that sort of thing. Eyesight, low vision is a big one as well for older folks. So we feel like we can be there to address some of that thing to help them stay in their homes for as long as possible. We just started a low vision center, which is really exciting. We have a retiree from the Lighthouse organization. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's out of Chicago, but he's retired here to Prescott. And he got macular degeneration when he was 19 years old, and from that point forward has been blind. And he's a big, strong, strapping man, and he said it hit him really hard. Took him a few years to get past it, but anyway, he's here now, and he sees people just like him and helps them identify things that they can do to help them address what they need to live as well as they can, that sort of thing. But we just started that in January, and we're really excited about that. And I think one of the biggest things, the idea that if you can't drive and you live alone, about 71% of our clients live alone, and you can't get out and see people, and you get isolated, and then you get lonely, and then you get depressed, and that sort of thing. And I think, to me, that's the biggest thing. Driving them to the doctor is important, obviously, going to the grocery store, that sort of thing. But just the fact that they have someone that they can see and talk to consistently, I think is really important and might be the most important thing that we do. And that's all I have. I'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
I do.
Please.
Barry, when I think of people who care and discuss it, I always think of transportation first.
Absolutely.
That's your volunteer who goes through your organization. You give them a list as to what they have and how many times they do.
Yes, ma'am.
But you're talking about a lot of medical issues that these clients still have to deal with, but are staying at home. Do you have, quote, volunteers that help with medical issues? Because whether it's diabetes or other type, that's sort of out of your range, isn't
Yeah,
it?
we don't provide medical care in that sense, but we do provide services to get them to their medical care, of course, the transportation, but things like home safety inspections. We have guys retired guys that have experience in construction or handyman type stuff. They can go out there, go through their house and say, here's some things that we need to fix to make it safer for you. The technology assistance, helping them learn how to use their personal computer or their smartphone or whatever that may
So
be.
that's your volunteers.
Volunteers do that. Everything is done by volunteers. They're the engine of what we do, and we always need more. And transportation is our biggest thing, but we really have expanded a lot in the non-medical supports to help them.
So through CDBG, that 16.2 goes into an account that helps pay for gasoline?
Yeah, it would go to any general operating expenses, include some salary, but it would include direct care services, like equipment and stuff, say for the home safety. Maybe we buy a shower grab bar to install for a neighbor, would pay for that cost. But a lot of it is mileage reimbursement because of the cost of gasoline last couple of years. That has risen quite a bit, and it helps our neighbors our volunteers who are mostly retirees as well to make ends meet. So,
Okay, thank you.
yes, ma'am.
Councilman?
Yes, sir.
Barry, your brother says you're nearly as awesome as he is, so I'm in favor of this.
Which brother was that?
That's Bill.
Bill. Yeah, well, we'll talk later about Bill.
All right, people, Tom?
I guess you clarified, the volunteer does get reimbursed for mileage.
If they ask for it, yeah.
If they
And we
ask.
encourage them to, but some don't want it. They're there strictly because they want to be a volunteer, and some of them find the gasoline reimbursement to be a little bit beyond the spirit of volunteering.
And the major, not the 16,000, but the majority of our budget is 379. Does that include staff salary?
It does, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yep.
What is the
I
size?
think our excuse me, I got this nagging cough. I apologize.
Yeah.
I think our expenses in 2023 will be about 600,000 overall, and then you can take 66% of that to be basically Prescott's share.
What is the size of your staff?
We've got, I think, 7 FTEs, but that's about 10 or 11 people. There's the executive director and me. We have an accountant, and then we have program people, you know, who direct all the volunteers and make the assignments and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We have a volunteer coordinator as well.
And I'm sure that's a big job.
It is. They work very hard. Yeah, they
Yeah.
keep pretty busy. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sandy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. DeKemper, how long have you been with People Who Care?
9 months since last June.
I didn't think I'd recognized you,
Yeah.
so welcome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
I don't know Bill, but I guess he's pretty awesome.
You're
huh?
the only one, it seems like, because everywhere I go, someone says something about
He's
my brother
nearly
Bill.
as awesome as Bill.
Okay, all right.
I'm a lot better looking. That's all I tell him. So.
Do you, sir, go out from time to time to visit your clients as well?
I've been on a couple just to go along, just to
Okay.
see what it's like. I haven't provided, I'm a paid employee, I haven't provided the services myself, and I've met lots of neighbors and talked to lots of volunteers, and it's just an incredible eye-opener. The volunteers get much more out of it than possibly even the neighbors. It's just really, I could tell you all sorts of stories that I've learned in my short time there.
On question 31, proposed budget, you say that Davis-Bacon rules apply. When would Davis-Bacon ever go into effect?
I don't know. Is that, because I'm not quite sure I even know what the Davis-Bacon rules are, but I thought that was something. Excuse me. I can look through my papers here. I thought that was something that was required in the application outline. And they defined it as, let me look through my stuff. I'm sorry. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Mike, could you help him with Davis-Bacon maybe?
Is that,
I'd have to,
I could help it.
it's just applicable to construction projects.
Construction,
Right, and I was just curious as to
Oh,
why
okay.
it showed up, why they put it in there.
I'm sorry, I do not know, but
It's okay.
I'll go back through it and double check and let you know what,
So
if it's something
Why,
different.
for example, if you put a grab bar in, I
Right.
suppose, stuff like that.
if they pay them, yes,
Yeah.
but Mr. DeKemper said that their volunteers do most of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm deeply involved in the construction community. So I'm just want to share, and I'm sure you're already doing this, but please be cautious and very well aware of when your team might make repairs or handyman items. I just ask you to do that to protect your nonprofit, please.
Absolutely, and we
need
it's very
help.
minor stuff.
Okay.
We don't do anything
Perfect.
beyond changing giving them a new extension cord or
Perfect.
something like that, yeah.
It's a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
okay, Sandy, got this side. Good. Deborah?
I'm good.
Deb? Everybody good?
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Okay, Launchpad.
Next is Launchpad.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, committee, for your time today. My name is Natalie Amadio, and I am the Director of Youth Leadership and Employment Programs at the Launchpad Teen Center. This is my coworker.
Catherine Robbins, and I am Director of Fund Development at the Launchpad Teen Center.
So Project Launch is our youth work readiness workshop for teens in Yavapai County from 14 to 18. It is a 20-hour seminar that's held at the Launchpad Teen Center with a curriculum that was created by a retired Intel Corporation executive who wanted to help our teens learn professional skills. I offer this program 3 times per year in June, October, and February, and it focuses on teaching employment skills in an experiential and fun, supportive environment, and also enlists some partnership with local businesses for internship opportunities. So out of respect for our time here, a few of the skills that we incorporate are both soft and hard skills, such as social skills, first impressions, confidence, body language, how to conduct an interview. We also host mock interviews with local business owners so that teens have experience of actually going through that process of interviewing in a professional environment for the first time. The teens take a Kolbe Strengths Assessment, which helps link some of their intrinsic strengths and helps them recognize how they interact in group dynamics to help them take on some leadership roles in their new careers. They also take a career assessment. We talk about time management, professionalism, grit, perseverance, networking. We create resumes that are focused around specific wants of that teen, so focusing on their future as well as their current goals. They are able to host a question and answer session with local teens who have just completed an internship, so they can talk about what that experience is like. And then we also do the teens receive a certificate at the end of it and can add that to their resumes as a hard skill, and of course have a celebration around what they learned over that workshop. So who attends Project Launch? I went ahead and pulled these demographics from our most recent Project Launch in February. So you can see that most of our teens are in their freshman year, sophomore year. Generally in the past, for example, last June, we had mostly teens who were seniors, but this specific group, the average age was 15.6. 56% of those teens, their family members identified as being a low-income family in the Prescott area. You can also see that we do serve teens from different schools, but for the most part, the majority of teens who attend Project Launch are from Prescott schools such as PHS, Mile High, North Point, Basis, etc. A few statistics that I didn't include in this slide that I think are meaningful and important are that 20% of teens that participated identified as being part of the juvenile justice system. So those teens who are working on really improving some of their skills and bettering their lives. 30% identified as having some sort of disability. It's a really diverse group of teens who attend Project Launch. Roughly half are pretty high-performing honors students who are really focused on creating a resume that's going to help them in their college and future careers. And the other half are really focused on just trying to get their first job and working on some of those social skills. And then I would say in each of the last 3 Project Launch sessions that I've had a chance to facilitate included teens who were in the foster care system as well.
So our overall budget is a little over $38,000, and we're asking for CDBG funding in the amount of $11,000 for this program. And if you have specific questions, I'll let you go ahead and ask those about the budget. And I have. But really, I think that's the bulk of what we need to present here.
Okay, let me start. You had an average age of 15.6. When does your launch pad age hit a top? We just found out from Big Brothers Big Sisters, they go to 24.
We serve youth from 12 to 18 years old.
And unfortunately, our insurance won't allow us to work with youth who are older than that at this time.
Okay. Launchpad just did a 3-year project with CDBG.
Correct, yes. We renovated our building on 6th Street,
Mhm.
which was completed in April of last year. I'm sorry, it was completed in March. We opened our doors back up to youth on April 4th of 2022.
So, in fact, did you spend a little less money than you expected? You spent everything CDBG. I checked one of the questions here. You're a little under what was given.
Oh, well,
You got a grant of $50,000, 49.3.
yeah, it was, that's what we could come up with that was within the CDBG guidelines.
Okay.
Yes.
This is one more project, one more step, one more something that Launchpad wants to do, correct?
We've actually been doing Project Launch since, I'm pretty sure it was right around 2016 that we started doing Project Launch. So this is actually a program that has been ongoing. We recently opened up a cafe as part of our organization, and we offer apprenticeships at that cafe for youth. And we do we require that youth who are going to do an apprenticeship also go through Project Launch, and then hire youth from Project Launch to work in our cafe.
Do you still have the coffee shop?
That's our
That's the
cafe.
cafe.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And it's the Moon Cafe, and it's been open since April as well.
Okay. Next,
I have a
Tom.
The graph, I'm just a little curious, the top number, maybe I'm reading it wrong, it looks like 24 to me, the top blue line.
It's 14.
The screen's kind of
14.
wavy, it's hard to see from different angles.
Okay,
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Deborah.
You said in your application that you fell short of what you wanted to do in order to get the number of students in to do the program. I didn't see in here anything that had changed from the previous CBDG grant of how you will recruit youth to come to the program. Do you have any different specifics of how you will get more students involved? And then to tag onto that, in addition, I didn't see where there were any other internships offered other than at your Moon Cafe.
I can speak to that a little bit. Yeah. So my background is in education, and I have, as I've progressed and sort of gained confidence in this role and learned my way around teaching Project Launch, I've been able to create new connections with local teachers and local schools. And so I would really like to continue to create new relationships to foster more teens attending Project Launch. And we also, in that role, I've also been creating brand new relationships with businesses in town. Historically, we've had many, many different internship opportunities for teens. And then when leadership changed, we lost some of those connections. So I've been creating new relationships as well as finding the old ones and then reaching back out to them. So for example, we've worked with M&I Windows, Sadie Sardi Web Design. I don't know if you saw in the picture, we worked with City of Prescott in February. We had 5 amazing City of Prescott workers come in on their Sunday to conduct the mock interviews, and we worked with them to look at internship opportunities in the city as well.
Okay. Sandy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Natalie and Miss Catherine, it's nice to see you. Thank you for being here. I know it's been a long wait, but it says that Prescott, or Project Launch, you aim to help youth become gainfully employed. So Natalie, I'm assuming you're starting to do that with your outreach that you just talked about?
Yes, and I also offer continued service to the teens who take Project Launch and participate. So they know that they can come in and visit me at any time if they want to update their resume, if they want to practice their interviewing skills, or if they are interested in finding new employment, or if they were originally not ready for the job market quite yet, but then are now ready to go out and get their first job.
What I see with Project Launch is because your age is from 12 to 18, you are potentially gearing up and educating and helping the younger generations so that they would be more prepared when they reach 18, when they can go really be hired for a position.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was actually really excited to see all of this participation from Mile High students. That's a new connection that I've been able to foster.
Do you have any sort of criteria or controlled chart that shows you who's been hired and how many?
Ooh, I wish. I will start tracking that demographic information.
Perfect.
Yes, thank you. That's
Good idea. And why only 3 times a year? Because what you're doing is so critically important. How about 6 times a year?
absolutely.
Okay.
It's my favorite weekend, honestly.
About 15 times.
Now, don't know. 6 is good.
She's going to want more money.
Good job, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
I have one last question. I'm sorry. That's okay. When you say that the curriculum was developed by a former Intel employee, does he have any certification in creating curriculum? Is he have any background that he can provide that this curriculum has been approved by any accreditations?
I am not aware of any accreditations, and it was Denise, Denise Hurst. She was she developed this curriculum for the Launchpad specifically, and worked as a contractor for us and led Project Launch for many years, and she was a retired Intel employee, wanted to move to Prescott, and wanted to help to develop skills for youth, get them ready for the workplace, basically. So know that it is not accredited, and we've been using it for years. And anecdotally, I would like to share with you that we had an event recently, a fundraising event at the Launchpad, and there was a gentleman there who had worked with Project Launch students over the summer, and shared with me that he found that some of the interviewees that he interviewed were better prepared after this program than the individuals who actually came for jobs. They did research about the actual business, which many interviewees don't do. They did research around him and his interests, and knew a great deal about not only the business that they were interviewing for, but the individual interviewing them. So, which I think are really important skills.
I'll also share, I am a certified teacher, secondary education, and I do have experience in college and career counseling. And I did redesign the workbook in the fall that we used. So I used a lot of my teaching experience to make sure that it was really interactive and engaging and differentiated for students who have different needs.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you again, ladies.
Thank you.
And we're down to our last 2, folks. How about community courts?
Community counts.
I'll go by community counts.
I'll take community counts.
Okay. So Here's the sheet I sent you. Okay. My printer puts my name here, so.
And I'll put it up on the screen, too.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me present the Wrapped in Love Diaper Bank, which is a new project under Community Counts. Community Counts used to be Youth Count. Anyone remember Youth Count? Years ago. So we've been around since 1997. And we're an umbrella organization that helps new projects get launched and get their foothold. So Community Counts, Youth Counts / Community Counts. When I was the director, we launched the Prescott Women's Shelter. We launched the Vista Project that is now at Prescott College, and then MAPForce, our Substance Abuse Coalition. So lots of experience with taking grassroots projects and bringing them to actually be launched on their own. So Wrapped in Love, I don't know, how many, do you guys know how many poor kiddos we have birth to 5 in our county? First things first, has a handy dandy little subsection at the back of their reports that they do, their needs and assets reports every 2 years. So in Prescott, you have a copy that I couldn't print enough, just for Prescott area. So there's a total count of 1,953 kids that are birth to 5 that are in the poverty level, and 173 in Prescott alone. So based on just the 1,900, and yeah, that's on the screen. It's kind of hard to see. It's this section right here that gives that. Plus, there's lots of other information. So if you have grantees that need information, just a side note, for Prescott, you guys have this tool just for great use for you guys, and they update it every 2 years. So in 2019, at a Best for Babies meeting, Vicki came forward and said, I'm launching a diaper bank, and I'd love anybody to help. So I also chair the Kinship Care Work Group, and she became a member of that. She wanted to serve foster families and DCS with diapers because she knew it was a need. She did it as a faith-based mission, and from there started giving out diapers. It grew from 8,000 in 2021 to over 20,000 in 2022, and she said, we need our own organization. So I approached Community Counts. We are a project of volunteers right now, and I think I outlined some of the steps in the grant, but we'll be bringing on a Vista member, a Volunteer in Service to America. That will be the only staff that will be paid through that project. The rest of the revenue, well, actually, the projects will be garnered through diaper drives. So we have a warehouse in Prescott Valley that we've got set up. We have the application out for a Vista member, and I am doing fundraising. And I'm working with NACOG, who is bringing diapers in from a federal pilot project. However, and so we'll store their diapers for them. They are only going to be serving kiddos in Head Start. So we've got lots of momentum and lots of work, but we are scaffolding on bringing on partners because we don't have enough inventory to serve everyone. We have access to a free inventory software. I'm really excited to get that started, and that's in partnership with New Jersey and the National Diaper Bank. But we have to be in business for 5 years to become a member of the National Diaper Bank, where then we can buy bulk. So therefore, we have to have a warehouse to store them, and it's in Prescott Valley. A lot of the information is on there. I have this sheet just gives you some of the statistics. The grant outlines where I got my figures, and I'm partnering with the Women's Shelter to store them. Oh, and by the way, we'll also be serving elderly, so we will have incontinence supplies and period products for the females. We're partnering with schools and their family resource centers. So this will be bigger than just diapers. And we are serving Yavapai and not getting diapers from what's now the Arizona Diaper Bank, because I don't know why. So they're only doing their thing. So yeah, so again, we're kind of on our own, but Yavapai can do it. Questions for me?
And for some reason, we do have a question, and I think it was in the packet that was sent in. our community counts and Matt Force connected in any way?
They're sister organizations. They share a lot of the same board members. So Sheila Polk is over Matt Force, the board chair, and also over community counts.
Okay.
But there's not all Matt Force board members are on the community counts board.
Okay. Sister board members, I can understand.
And so we share the physical location too, and we share Mary Lee Fowler. Yeah.
Okay, this is your first time to us.
Yep, as community counts, yes.
And looks like you were probably the lowest request, a little over 5,000.
Wait till next year when I can justify, when I get the numbers. Especially at the women's shelter, we have like 3 ladies over 80, and they need supplies. And it's like, so I'll be talking to you. Okay, but we've got to scaffold them in. So, yeah, the need is out there, as stated. It's a different, yeah.
Okay. So again, it's always ask, and I'll start it. If you don't get your full 5, can you get by with something less?
As you can see, I didn't even put in all the babies. I didn't even put in all the numbers. So I would love to see the full amount, but for the first year, that would be, I shouldn't say that. We already have calls coming in from organizations wanting to join, and I just don't have the inventory, so I have to bring them on. So could we? Yes. But then you know what I'll do is I would love for y'all to sponsor a diaper drive, because it's the community. If I had to pay for everything for this project, it's over $170,000. It's over $80,000 if I had to buy all the diapers. So this, just like the women's shelter having to raise local funds, that's what this project will be. And the diaper drives, 1AZ Credit Union is going to learn how to wrap diapers next week, and all 7 sites are going to host diaper drives. The biggest ones will be over Mother's Day. So you'll see the sign. So then I'll just say, please take diapers, because that's when, but we do need funding to get a lot of the product, because they don't know we're a new project. Are we going to stay around? It's like the demand is there. We've built it to last.
So your numbers have to do with just Prescott?
Yeah, oh yeah. That's why this sheet from that is in Yavapai region needs and assets. It's not in any other region. It's so important because it's just Prescott. That 173 is just Prescott, and I only put 160 in the money that I did, and that's only 25 diapers a month. Kiddos really need 150 a month.
Sure.
So that's only a little bump in what they need. And as I said in my grant, WIC doesn't pay for this, SNAP doesn't pay for this. They have to come up on their own with getting diapers. So, and the other pieces, sorry if I go over. The kids are linked to organizations. So like we work with Catholic Charities, those diapers go right to the families in need. So it's not that we're going to have just anyone getting the diapers. So they're linked to services to help get them the workplace information, to help all the skill development. So the social determinants of health are what the organizations that come into the diaper bank, those are the audiences that they work with. So the diapers are going directly to the kids and the families that need them. And so they don't come right to us as the warehouse. We have them go through a partner organization so that they're getting those services. I'd love to see them all in home visiting programs, because then we know they're really going to be successful. But they could come through an early child care site. They could come from a Parents as Teachers program, Catholic Charities, so DCS. So they're all linked to other programs that are going to dovetail in services. So I just picked 160, which is actually less than what y'all have here.
Last question.
Sure.
You stated in your presentation that it isn't just diapers.
Right.
You're also moving to adults and another fraction of that. This request really is just for your diapers through, that's...
I think I put 20 adults. I think I put some incontinence supplies in there
Okay.
in the budget. Yeah.
Okay.
But I've already got those between, right here. Anyway, they're already requested, but the diaper drives will help us get more supplies.
All right. All right, that's my questions. Anything at this end?
Just a quick question.
Sure.
You had PASS. Your PASS would be one of the groups that would distribute the diapers?
They'll be the physical location because this is Prescott funds. I want them to be picked up here in Prescott. So the organizations, once they place their order on the electronic inventory, we bundle them and package them in bags. So the organizations in Prescott will go to PASS to pick up the product because our warehouse is in Prescott Valley.
And PASS sort of monitors then who they're giving them to?
It'll be marked with us. It'll be marked from us, yes. So they don't have to, it'll automatically have it on there. The only ones that they'll pass out a packet directly is the elderly that they're serving in the shelter or the young children they're serving. So we know that they're homeless and they're definitely, and they might not be on the statistics
Yeah, they don't
for the
serve
kiddos.
elderly there, but
Oh, yeah, we do. We have 3 women over 82.
Okay, yeah.
Or over 80, I
That's
should
right,
say.
yeah.
Yeah. So we have, right there we do.
Okay.
And then we'll work with people who care to go and Meals on Wheels, but yeah.
Tom Sandy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am so sorry I didn't catch your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I probably didn't introduce myself. Sorry. I'm Lori Deutsch, and yes, I work with MapForce and Community Counts.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Miss Lori. I'm confused on the number of families that you want to serve, number of residents, because none of these numbers seem to jive.
Okay, so I put on there what I thought was reasonable that would come to us. So the families they have the children, but oftentimes the families have more children than what's on the, they have 2 or 3 in diapers. So I don't have the numbers in front of me off the top of my head, but I did conservative for the amount that we would serve. When you have a child in 1s and 2s, you give them double packets, so because they go through diapers faster. So even though I put 160, you have the numbers validating that you have 160 kiddos living in poverty in Prescott. I think I put 120, and then I put some that will be adults
It
to
says
serve.
Prescott residents being served 180. And then it says total households 151.
Okay, so because some of them don't, if they're at the shelter, they don't have a household.
Okay.
So I'd have to, all my notes on so I'm a grant writer, so I have to have everything, and an accountant. So I can go get all those figures where I got it from, but I did the math using where we would be serving, like at the homeless population, and also when they're at schools, they're listed as homeless. They don't have a home, and those are the ones that fall in the poverty. And I know for sure that Prescott has 203 homeless on their roster, and I think Kelly Maddox said she was at 160 or 180. So they're in a household, but they're...
So maybe for further clarification, if it's
Okay.
not too much work.
No, I've got all the notes at home.
Would you mind re-establishing those numbers?
Where I got the numbers?
And forward to Michael?
Sure, yeah, we've
I
talked.
think that would help me
Okay,
get my arms around your project.
yeah. So just know that the kids are there, the elderly are there,
Sure.
as
Right.
he talked about, and we have the homeless that we'll be serving because they're definitely in that need poverty level.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
We're good?
Thank you,
We're
Lori.
good. Thank you, Lord.
Okay, so diaper drives, you'll host a diaper drive?
Always pitch.
I know. That's it.
Guess what, New Horizon? We're going to take a break. Please come up to the microphone. Bless your heart, I couldn't let you to sit back there.
It's been a long week with all the weather, as I'm sure we've all witnessed.
Thank you for your patience, You're a gentleman and a scholar. We appreciate it. Maybe next time we'll rotate that around. And
It was my fault. I really didn't know if I could make it here. I'm 16 miles away in the mountains, so
Okay.
I feel really blessed to be here today, so thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. Let's go, New Horizons. What
I
you
want to
got?
give you a brief thumbnail sketch of what New Horizons is. We're a disability empowerment center. We serve all people with any disability. We were created in '92 through volunteers with the desire to create a transportation system for people with disabilities. That has grown into a very large campus. We currently operate about 23 vehicles. We serve about 59,000 square miles of Arizona, which covers 5 counties. Other things that we've been involved in, recent partnership with the town of Prescott Valley to develop the Yavaline on-demand transit system. I was fortunate to be part of that. A DRS jobs program for disabled folks that we help them find, actually not only find employment, but how to put together resumes and to professionally present yourself. Employment is very important for disabled people, just as is transportation. Adaptive Fitness Center with a certified personal trainer. This is an incredible facility that is about 2,000 square feet. It has dozens of machines for people that require to use their hands, not basic equipment as you'd normally see in a gym, but designed specifically for people that use wheelchairs and other devices, build up their upper body strength and create balance and other things. It's a really marvelous, I invite you all to come down and look. It's a marvelous facility. You would kind of think of it as a very perfunctory gym, but it's quite special. And recently we acquired a partnership with the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation and Spin Foundation, Special People in Need. We had this concrete pad in back of our campus. As a former tennis professional myself, and our adaptive fitness trainer plays in tennis tournaments, wheelchair tournaments, we added the tennis program, which includes a professional tennis net, 2 professional specialized wheelchairs for people to play tennis in. They're quite different. The radical wheels that tilt in, and they're really quick, super light, and expensive. The other component was the recently got funding from Special People in Need to put down a court surface with lines and acrylic colors, which is critical for the bounce for the whole thing. So that's taken off, and even though we don't have the surface in until spring, we've already got about 12 people that are constantly coming out to play. These are individuals that really don't have the opportunity to go elsewhere for this. It's very unique in the community. We offer peer-to-peer counseling. We've got ADA training classes, adaptive computer lab. We've got we conduct ADA remediation services for our clients. Sometimes we'll get calls from people that will have excessive noise, or they'll have an issue with a business next door. And usually it's a matter of not understanding what the rules are. And it's always working gently with both sides to reach a harmonious conclusion. That's very satisfying for us. Just real briefly here, I have a couple brief written statements, but I think they're important to hear. What we intend to do is provide free transportation for City of Prescott residents in the LMI demographic. Many of these residents do not have vehicles. They can't afford the cost of taxis. Transportation in the community is expensive. We'll transport ambulatory and non-ambulatory clients to medical appointments, grocery stores, pharmacies, as well as DES and other entities. Our goal is to provide this service for 240 residents. Number varies greatly upon the number of miles traveled, whether or not the individuals are able to move themselves, or we have to actually do door-through-door service. We'll go into people's homes, and when we're done, they get back into their home, make sure they're perfectly safe. Our drivers, by the way, are all ADA trained. They're professionals. They have extensive driving training. They're monitored by GPS. We make sure they don't disobey traffic laws. Everything is closely controlled, and they also are fingerprint clearance, among other qualifications. So what we have is a very, very strong transportation program. We are uniquely capable of providing the service for folks that do have disabilities. Some of the destinations for these trips include pharmacies, Prescott VA, prosthetic labs, doctors, dentists, opticians, rehab facilities, wound care, and hospitals. And you had asked other people, partners. We partner with the Pacific ADA, the Town of Prescott Valley, Dana and Christopher Ree Foundation, Mountain Valley Rehab, ADOT, ADSDDD, Washington Federal Rural Transportation Incubator Grant. So we have a very broad scope in all the things we do. I just want to share also real brief comments about some of the clients that we do, just a look of what it feels like. Here's a client that has polio. She could walk with crutches when she first started doing rides with New Horizons about 12 years ago. She's now required to use a wheelchair. We drive her to doctor appointments as well as to Banks grocery store. She's on a fixed income and very appreciative for the transportation which the CDBG program provides. Client B has multiple sclerosis. We provided her with transportation to her doctor appointments and her counseling sessions. We've also provided her with a wheelchair to use around her home and a power scooter that enables her to get around in stores. That's part of our durable medical equipment program, which phenomenal people donate everything from seats for showers all the way up to $30,000 power chairs. So whenever anyone in this room needs something, please contact us. We can probably get it for free for you. Client C, this is quite the interesting person. This is a gentleman that served as our board chair for several years. For over a decade, he served as in the greater Prescott area as a disabled community activism, ADA education and activism person. This person was involved actively with the city, with businesses to help provide the right environment for people with disabilities to have normal, independent, self-determined lives, and that's what it's really all about. Without that, you're pretty much taking these people and making them prisoners in their house. So we are the people that can do that and bring these people out of their house. During the COVID period, we had a isolation prevention program. We've just been so dedicated to our customers to alleviating their issues relative to disabilities. So with this gentleman here that in his later years, he was completely reliant on CDBG transportation for everything due to the fact that he could no longer drive, and his medical and insurance costs just blew him out of the water financially. He was lucky to keep his home, but could not drive, could not get anywhere. Your program is what made his life viable. So in closing, our program fulfills the critical need for low to moderate income Prescott residents to live independent, self-directed lives through no-cost transportation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Gary. New Horizon have been granted CDBG money before, so I think some of us are familiar and know what they do, and he said some of the highlights. I have no questions. I think the packet that you turned in, Gary, answers everything I've got.
Thank you.
So, Tom?
Just a quick question. It says that you're serving 215 people, and with the budget, that works out to $70 per trip.
It varies greatly on how many individuals have. So it could simply say, if you say, oh, there's 60 clients here, but it could have been 120 trips. And it doesn't mean that each person had 2 trips. One person could have had 20 trips because of medical needs. So those numbers vary depending upon how many clients and how many trips.
So the 215 is number of clients, not necessarily the number of trips, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, it would far exceed that number of trips.
Where are the vans located?
Vans are physically located in Prescott Valley, 9400 East Valley View Road. And we're across from Patriot Disposal with that.
And where's your gym or whatever you call it?
That would be, it's the same location.
Same location, Prescott Valley.
Yes.
So this money would be used directly for transportation in Prescott?
In Prescott,
In the
for
ci-
Prescott residents in the LMI demographic to begin their trip in Prescott and return to Prescott. So most of those trips are within the city limits of Prescott, and at the very edge would be like the Prescott VA and things like that.
But not to the gym in Prescott Valley?
No.
Too bad, you're going to have to walk.
We do have other options, though, for transportation, low cost for folks in Prescott to come out to us. So we'd love to see you come out.
I'll drive you.
Okay. Thanks, Tom.
I have a couple questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Gentic, it's nice to see you.
You
How
too.
long have you been with New Horizons?
It feels like a long time, but it's only been 2 years.
Seriously? I thought
Yeah.
it was like 25 or something.
Well, I had been at Habitat for about 12 years, and that's how I became acquainted with this group. And I honestly love that dearly, but for me, this has got a greater place in my heart. Every single person we serve deserves it. Every person.
No, you can feel it when you speak.
Thank you.
You, in your report, you did say 215 clients, but now in your verbal statement, you mentioned 240. So do you feel it's going to be much higher than the 215, and that was just a low guess?
What we've, in the short time I've been there, I've seen the numbers jump
Right.
up and down and now back up. And what I saw, I came on board right after COVID. It was a great time to jump in here and try to be a motivator for our programs and try to expand everything. So what I saw with the CDBG transportation was we would run, the first year, I believe the numbers, I have it written down somewhere here. Our first year was like, the year prior to when I came on board was like 12,000 something, and it dropped to 5,006. We ran out of funds. We could have provided an awful lot more rides. We had to turn down a lot of people, which was a little painful. So trying to project the number, it's like herding cats. It's a little difficult to do. All I know is that we definitely run out of funding, and it would be phenomenal if we could carry it on without, I mean, I don't even know if we could possibly be funded to make an entire year, but certainly I'd like to go more than that 6-7 months in the program and provide these rides. So that number is a little bit loose, but I think it should be maybe this year even a little more. But again, I don't want to be too aggressive with the number.
Did you find yourself denying people last year?
We did, indeed. And again, it was a little painful when we got to that point. I think it was toward the end, it was around July or something, and talked to our transportation department, and yeah, I work with some people that are very heartfelt. It didn't feel good. It was a negative day when we had to do that.
I understand. Thank you for your passion.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah. Hi, Gary.
Hi.
So just to make sure I understand this correctly, so your service for transportation is free, is that correct?
For the CDBG project, completely for people that use it.
Got it, okay. And then, that makes sense now, because I don't think that was as clear on here. So on your financials and stuff, there is like a line item for transportation fee for service. So that's everybody else outside of the CDBG, or
That's
can
true.
you?
And I'm trying to think of the number of miles. Our other transportation might be somewhere around 300,000 miles a month or something. We cover a lot of ground.
Okay.
And because we're so far flung across the state, those miles are huge. We've recently acquired a couple smaller vehicles to target individuals, like if someone calls us in Chino and says, I'm one person and I have to get to the VA, well, we'll leave the great big cutaway van and take out the little Honda. So we're trying to be a lot more responsive to the cost of fuel. It's just really been brutal for us too.
Okay, that's good. Thank you for clarifying that for me. So essentially, the $15,000 CDBG request is specifically for the folks in the city of Prescott and for that transportation service to remain free to those folks based on these funds. Is that correct?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And I just want to also make a comment. My last presentation here for Habitat, I don't believe anyone was doing PowerPoints. Yeah, I love creating PowerPoints. I'm a photographer and a graphics person, so next year, if I get blessed with the opportunity, I would put out something wonderful, and I promise I won't read directly from it.
Well, that won't ding you too bad. You've done a great job. Yeah, we appreciate your presentation. You've done a good job.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Okay, Michael?
Yes, that is it for our presentations. I do have a couple of things. Our next meeting is in 2 weeks on March 15th, Wednesday at 1:30. Make sure I get that email out to everyone regarding that meeting. And then the other question I had was talking about the subcommittee and when the subcommittee would like to meet.
Okay, let me sort of start. We need to get everybody's vote in. You need to tabulate those for us.
Okay.
Then the subcommittee comes right in. As soon as you're finished, am I close? As soon as you're finished with the information from each board member as to how that vote went.
Okay.
Then we pick up from there, and we're pretty flexible. We can get that done in one day, and I know both you guys work. I'm among those very few that are retired. Your schedule, if you'll deal with two of them, just tell me when it's ready, and we'll get that going.
Okay.
Is next meeting the 15th when we're supposed to essentially talk through what's being awarded? So we need to meet from now till then to have tabulations and subcommittee meeting?
Yeah, we were a bit behind, so we're kind of moving as fast as we can, so that's the goal.
That wasn't your fault, that was George's fault.
I didn't. Do we have a target date to get them to you? The vote?
Have a target date to get them to him,
Okay.
and from him, the subcommittee picks it up.
What is that date?
Wants them before the 15th, is that correct?
Right, if possible, is it the middle of next week, is that too soon for the scoring? to
Let's
get
give a
to?
final date. Want to say Friday being your last day, Monday being your last day? Give them a date.
Okay.
And then everybody that can get in early will be a hero. Those that are telling you I'm behind, we'll all sort of look at. So what do you want, Friday?
I would like Friday, that would be
Friday.
great.
This Friday.
Friday?
This,
A week
10th.
from
The
today,
10th.
Friday.
Friday the 10th. Friday the 10th.
And then we'd be squeezing in a subcommittee
Friday, A
meeting
week from today would be the 10th.
Okay, we get them to Mike.
Monday or Tuesday.
Madam Chair, just if I may, our next meeting, we get one spring break a year, and that's right in the middle of it, so I will be absent. I apologize for that. I'll be out of town. It's okay, because this is the committee members themselves obviously make the determinations on
Any
that.
questions about what's going on?
Absolutely, I know who to
Get a hold
contact for
of
sure.
Mike and we'll
I
go with
appreciate
it.
that.
Thank you, Council.
I also, with the schedule having been shifted today, I've got a 4 o'clock I'm going to be a little bit late for, so I apologize for coming late and leaving early and not being here next time. I kind of feel like a lout, but it is what it is.
No, you're not.
You bet. Thank you so much. I really appreciate each of you and the great work that you do, and what's great presentations. I'm excited to see these things happening in our community.
Thanks, Clark.
So
Thank you, Councilman.
just make sure you're voting. He's given you everything in your package. Get those to Michael by Friday the 10th. For sure. 4 o'clock. And he will then tabulate it, have it ready. We will have our next meeting on the 15th,
That's correct,
and that's at 1:30.
1:30.
You want to subcommittee meet earlier that day and go over some stuff, or you want to wait?
I think he's referring to the 15th as an actual CDBG meeting, public meeting. The subcommittee only would have Monday and Tuesday prior to that meeting to meet.
Right?
So I think he needs to pretty much have tabulations for that Monday and Tuesday right before the 14th and 13th.
Well, that's what I'm trying to pull out. Can we have that information before the 15th? You want to wait till after that meeting?
No,
How do you want to do it?
okay,
Madam Chair,
take a breath.
Yes.
if I can. So with getting the tabulation together, and Mike getting the packet together, prepped for the CDBG meeting on the 15th. I really think that he'll need to have the information earlier next week to make all of that happen, give the subcommittee members time to come together. So Mike, a realistic time frame, what are our, and forgive me for not knowing, but what are our deadlines to have the CDBG packet together for the committee members?
Well, I would say that would be the 15th.
To have the packet ready the day of?
Right, if we wanted to vote and do it right then, get it done as quickly as possible.
Okay.
The next big part of this, my piece is doing the annual action plan. And so I have to get that involved in that, or that piece in there. So that's kind of the rush.
Madam Chair, so I know and obviously this is just the reality we have to work with right now just because we were behind a bit, but maybe we don't hate me, everybody, but the 8th is maybe when we turn in all committee members turn in their votes and their tabulations. And by the 10th, Michael, you think that from the 8th, next Wednesday, to maybe you having them out to subcommittee members on the 10th?
Absolutely.
2 days?
Oh, yeah.
And then we have it, subcommittee has a chance to mull it over the weekend, and then maybe we plan I can do Tuesday, the 14th, for the subcommittee meeting.
Sandy?
I'm clear on the 14th.
Afternoon?
Did I hear you right? You want the turned into Mike on the 8th?
I think next Wednesday, the 8th, if you all folks could have, if we could have everything submitted into Michael for our
Okay, next Wednesday.
evaluation worksheets.
Yeah.
I know it's pushing it and uncomfortable, but I think that's what it's gonna take.
Does the subcommittee want not only the score sheets, but maybe some comments about what we would want the committee to consider?
Absolutely.
That's okay?
What I saw on past score sheets was there was comments on the past score sheets, regarding some of the
So
projects.
that'll be passed on to the subcommittee.
I think when you email or drop off or whatever your worksheet, these worksheets for each applicant, I think, we could have a Word document or any notes you want to
Just
Michael.
some
Yeah,
things to
sure.
consider.
But the process doesn't stop just because of the subcommittee
Right.
recommendations. If you recall last year, we
Together.
Yeah.
kind of
Remember,
had
we-
our own opinions about how that money was going to be distributed at the committee meeting.
Yeah, we changed it slightly last year,
We changed it quite a bit,
which is good.
yeah. So I don't know that they really listened to our opinion
Always do, Deb. All
at
right,
the subcommittee
let's
meeting.
take it
Sorry.
from the top. We have our votes in by the 8th. We have a subcommittee meeting on the 14th. We have a CDB meeting on the 15th at 1:30. Everybody got it?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Right? Anything else? I need a motion to adjourn.
I definitely make that motion.
I definitely second that motion.
Tom
Because otherwise I need one of those diapers.
Second is Deborah Miller, and I've got about 4 minutes after 4.
Okay.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, what do you want to do to help?